Hi, I'm Dr. Lance Morris, and welcome to my weekly YouTube posting. This is number 14 in my ongoing series. So thanks for joining me, and we're continuing with a topic relative to when I had an injury during a flood in Fairbanks, Alaska in 1967, and it brought up the topic of refeeding syndrome. This is a condition the Western world first learned about when the Allied forces liberated Holocaust survivors. These survivors had been systematically starved over many months. When the Allied forces saw them in this debilitated and pitiful state, they reached into their own ration bags and started feeding them things like lard-laden biscuits and candy bars, not knowing that it would lead to their almost immediate death. It is estimated that 500 POWs from Auschwitz concentration camp and as many as 14,000 from the Belsen concentration camp died of refeeding syndrome, possibly the least talked about cause of fatality in the Second World War. In the case of my wife's teacher, he broke his fast by consuming a single avocado. This caused his intestines to spasm, then bind up, virtually strangling him to death. In my case, it was this same intestinal reaction from consuming a very high-fat meal after only a 1-week fast. During this incident, I had an OBE, out-of-body experience, or NDE, near-death experience. It was bizarre, disconcerting, and frankly scary. My consciousness seemed to be disembodied, virtually floating above the medical office where the doctor and my parents were with me. I could see my body on the table. I could not control it. I could not speak or open my eyes. I could hear the doctor telling my parents, "We're losing him." I was screaming in my disembodied state that I was right here and I was just fine. Nobody could see or hear me. The next thing I remember, I was waking up and realizing that I was alive and in fact back in my body. Anyone that has had such an experience will confirm an overwhelming perception that our true existence is independent of a physical body. This is a personal, subjective awareness that nobody can take away from you or convince you that this was purely your imagination. It does offer the individual a profound feeling and sense of security relative to the afterlife. Does one need this level of traumatic experience to have such an experience? Fortunately, no. It is possible to learn how to cross this barrier between our physical and non-physical forms, both intentionally and consciously. It is also possible to replicate this with relatively consistent reliability. One of the keys is associated with the body's fascial membrane and our sense of touch. I believe that the reason the universe has given us humans such relatively poor physical senses is to intentionally guide us to learn to look within rather than without. This, of course, is antithetical to our indoctrination and life experience in the physical domain that is driven by what I call be me. Body, ego, mind, and identity. Interestingly, these 4 identifiers have also been elucidated in the work of Eckhart Tolle. This is in no way coincidental. As I stated at the beginning of this YouTube series, that more and more of us are starting to identify parallel streams of data leading to the same outcomes or tools for personal awakening. Ostensibly, we seem to be tapping into a universal reservoir of divinely guided information. Next week, we will continue our explanation of our sense of touch as to potentiate both physical healing and spiritual awakening. Please remember to tune in, and as always, like, share, and subscribe. Till next week, goodbye.